Hello everybody, and Happy New Year! It's Mo from NACE BC Student Section, and you are watching another episode of NACE BC Student Section interviews with industry professionals. Today's interview is with a leader and industry professional. It's our pleasure to have Chris O'Reilly, President and CEO of BC Hydro. Hi Chris, Happy New Year to you, and thank you so much for your time today. It's great talking to you. Now, if you want to say anything before we start.
Well, Happy New Year to you, Mo, and I'm really glad to be here and speaking to your fellow students.
Thank you so much. So we have split the questions into 3 different sections, and I'm going to start with the first question. What is your story, Chris? Please give us a brief biography of yourself.
Sure. So I'm the president and CEO of BC Hydro. I've worked for BC Hydro for 31 years, grew up and live in BC. For most of that time, I was born in Nova Scotia on the other side of the country, but did most of my schooling here. I went to UBC in electrical engineering and started with BC Hydro right out of school. So really feel privileged to have spent my career at BC Hydro and really enjoy the people and the work and the opportunity to serve our customers here in the province.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So would you please tell us more about BC Hydro and its activities?
Sure. So BC Hydro is a crown corporation, means we're owned by the government and the people of British Columbia. We are what's known as an integrated utility, meaning we generate, we transmit, and distribute electricity for about 95% of the population of British Columbia. And we have a major presence in the external markets as well, in the western third of North America through our trading subsidiary of PowerX. And we've got a really exciting company. We feel really proud of the work we do serving the customers here. We've got a great legacy of assets, low carbon, clean energy assets. We've got a great tradition of conservation through our PowerSmart programs and a really strong brand and relationship with our customers here in the province.
That's great. So there might be new interest to move to green energy resources.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think it may affect the status quo? Will it put a limit on the funding and opportunities for the oil industry, for example?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not an expert on the oil industry for sure, or the fossil fuel industry. I know and appreciate the pressures the industry is under, and we're all under that pressure to reduce the carbon emissions in our country, in our world, and here in BC. And we have a big commitment as part of that to implement, help the province implement the Clean BC program, which has a big element of electrification using electricity to help power industry and other processes that might otherwise use fossil fuels, and thereby reduce the emissions and encourage the growth in the economy. So we think there's opportunities to displace fossil fuels where appropriate, and we can be part of that and part of the solution to reducing emissions and fighting climate change in our world.
That's great. So now we'll start the job seeking related questions.
Mm-hmm.
So how are the job opportunities, in particular at BC Hydro, affected by COVID-19?
Mm-hmm. Well, COVID has had a significant impact on BC Hydro as it has on many organizations. And for us in particular, our load has been reduced, so we have less money coming in the door. And not as bad as some organizations, some industries, but we're certainly impacted. And we've had additional costs to deal with the challenges of COVID, the impacts on our customers, as well as on our staff, and just trying to keep our operations going. So we've not stopped hiring, but we're being very careful about hiring in the short term. And we are continuing, for example, our co-op programs. And I met yesterday with our latest round of co-op students. Really pleased to see that we're able to support them in their education, because I know those jobs are so important. We expect to continue to hire people. We always have people retiring, coming to the end of their career, and we need to maintain our technical workforce. So in the long term, I think the prospects are good. Right now, we're just being very cautious about hiring people.
Okay, so you think that in the like near future we can get back to normal and normal before COVID soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're all looking forward to getting back to normal,
Right.
and I'm I'm uh, I'm absolutely one of those people looking forward to the vaccine and just having that normal connection and normal activity. I do think we've got a ways to go when you look at the rates of vaccination and the challenges with the spread of the virus in our province and in our country today. We've got some difficult times before things get better, but I'm optimistic things will get better and we'll return to something like what we thought was normal before.
Exactly. Yeah. What are some of the skills and strengths a newly employed candidate needs to develop in order to adapt to working from home?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And I'm now, as you can see, working from home. I was back in the office from June till about the end of November. But then when the new requirements came out, there was a request that if you can work from home, you do work from home. So I'm certainly doing that in support of our fight against COVID. It's not my preference. I prefer to be in the office and with other people and able to engage. So but I'm like everyone else doing that. I think it does make work more challenging, and you have to be more deliberate about coordination and making good transactions or commitments, just understanding expectations and going the extra, taking extra steps to ensure that you're consulting people and really hearing what their concerns and interests are, so that the work you're doing it meets the needs. And I think those kind of things are important all the time, but especially important in COVID, where you just can't stop people in the hall and check in or drop into someone's office. You just have to take that extra step to ensure that the work is on track and meeting expectations and reflecting all the perspectives that need to be incorporated.
That's right. How important is it for engineers to be able to work remotely post-COVID? So has remote work been seen as a viable alternative to office work?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and we're having lots of discussions. We're very much treating this like an experiment, right? It's not something we chose, but we're working in this unusual circumstance and trying to learn as much as we can. And I think we've learned that there's a great value in the flexibility that comes from allowing people to work remotely and be more flexible. And there's where people are facing long commutes, for example, or remote work can be a real advantage and an opportunity to attract people. Our company, like many industrial companies, we operate in a very complex environment and very highly technical environment, a lot of multidisciplinary environment. And we foresee in the long term, once this is over, that we're going to go back to be predominantly an office-based environment. We think that works for us, but I think we are appreciating the flexibility, and there will be more opportunity for people to work remotely for some time, or have different hours and the like. So I think the skills we're all learning and we've been forced to learn in this environment will carry on and be valuable in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great. So I think it's the most interesting part of our interview, the next three questions, general career advice. So how can an engineering graduate take on management roles
Mm-hmm.
in the industry? Should they pursue relevant studies on management, or gaining experience in the industry as an engineer would be enough?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a good person to ask that question to, because I did very much do that coming out of school, and we have an engineer and training program in BC Hydro that involves moving around to different departments, and you get a real exposure to different types of work. And I early on took on some opportunities to do temporary supervision and lead small groups of people, and that was really impactful for me, and I really learned a lot from those experiences. And I ended up going into more of a management track in BC Hydro. I've had lots of technical roles in the company, but predominantly have been on the management side. I think the best way to learn is learn by doing, and I happen to have an MBA, but I'm not a strong advocate of MBAs for engineers. I think they're expensive today, and I think a lot of those skills can be learned within an organization and on the job. And so I really encourage people to try things out, get experience, volunteer, quote unquote, in your organization to take on roles and just learn what you can on the job. And once you've done that and you have a sense of where you might need more formal training, or more academic training, I'm a big advocate of reading books and textbooks, and I think there's lots of opportunities to take courses, and more so now online, to kind of fill in gaps that you might feel you have, and really build your career in the organization, and if the management stream is what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So if you go back to when you were a student, besides your main engineering degree, would you take any specific courses or enroll in any program to help you in your current role as a manager?
Yeah, that's a great question. My impression is that engineering education today is a lot more broad than it was when I went to school. It was a predominantly a technical focus back in those days. I actually took a few courses outside of the faculty. I took some history courses and some language courses over the years, and that was more out of interest. I was involved in the debating society in my university, so that was a different perspective. I think it's really important for students to get as broad an education as they can, and I think there's more opportunities today to incorporate leadership training in engineering, to incorporate multidisciplinary training in engineering, and there's lots of opportunity down the road to specialize, and lots of opportunity to do that. So that's my I had a fine education, back at UBC in the late 80s. um, I think I might have a better education if I was there today. It just seems like a broader program, and a lot more opportunity to learn.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And the last question: how to network without being annoying or
Yeah.
disrespectful of someone's time?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and networking is really important. It's a great way to uncover and find opportunities, and it's not everyone's orientation, and it can, to your point, you don't want to be intrusive and overstep. So I think great advice is to keep it short, keep the interactions short and meaningful. Think through your questions. There's a lot of opportunities today to interact with people via LinkedIn and and other social media forums, at conferences and the like, in the kind of more normal time. But I think it's be specific about what you're asking, and be respectful of time. And if the relationship feels like it's not mutually beneficial, I would try something else, right? So try someone else and keep at it. But I would encourage people to pursue networking, whether you're part of an organization already and you want to build your range of contacts, or when you're looking for work. I think it's while not everyone's really comfortable with it, it's really important to push yourself and do that.
That's right. Thank you so much. So we've reached the end of the questions. And now please share if there is any final words and advice for undergraduate and graduate students
Yeah.
watching this interview.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and I I really do recognize that this COVID pandemic and the implications it has for individuals and the economy, all of that falls harder on younger people that are not as developed and advanced in their careers. So, we're really conscious of that at BC Hydro in terms of the support we're providing to our co-op students. And I think it's just doubly important for you to recognize the challenges out there, and unfortunately everyone has to work that extra harder to find their way in the world. But if there's opportunities, certainly open to hearing from people and trying to help where we can. It's a very extraordinary situation that we're all going through, and as we said earlier, we're all looking forward to putting it behind us.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for the interview, Chris. It was a great pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate your time for this interview. Have
Great.
a great day.
Yeah, you too, Mo. All the best. Bye-bye.
Yeah.